even fucking try.
Monkey D. Goofy. D. Goofy. I'm just flopping this bad guy.
Why would they do that, bro?
Bro, because it's get you ready, don't Yeah! No!
Alright, what is good, people? It's your boy T-Rav. I'm back once again. Right now, we have the One Piece Film Red movie review. Before I get into all that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're still on the road to 100 subscribers, people. I need your help. Help a brother out. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. But anyway, let's get into the business. So, a couple years after Stampede, we finally get Film Red. Much anticipated because Shanks was going to have, you know, a larger role in it from all the promo that came out about it. I didn't even watch the trailers on this one, to be honest. That's my bad. I fumbled on that one. But I'm kind of glad I didn't, just because I wanted to go into it blind and just really enjoy all the goodness that I was going to get out of this newest One Piece content that we was getting. Not what I was expecting. I'll definitely say that. This movie trends more towards the musical side of things because the soundtrack is way more prominent in this one. Obviously, I forget the name of the, I think it's Adu or something like that, is the lady who's singing almost all the songs, I think. I don't even think there's any regular just background OSTs going on, but this movie is more about UTA's story, who is a childhood friend of Luffy and is portrayed as the daughter of Shanks. And she's got the power of the Sing Sing fruit. Now, her whole goal is to create a new era of her own, to bring joy and happiness to people who are just suffering in the world because, you know, pirates is doing pirate things, destroying nations, taking all the food, leaving the people hungry, and people are just suffering in general, right? But that's not all on the pirates, but she doesn't know that, right? Because she's been stuck on the nation of Elegia, who is really just at this point her and Gordon, the former king of that nation. But yeah, man, she doesn't know everything that's going on in the outside world, so she blames pirates for everything. And I can't say that I thought the movie was going to go the way it did because it ended up being that she's the main villain in this one, right? Because she's got a broken ass ability. Let's just start with that right there. I mean, the Sing Sing fruit is crazy with what it can do. It literally transports you into basically a dream world if you hear her music or anything like that. And so your soul is then essentially taken from your body and put into this dream world. And in this dream world, she could do basically whatever she wants to do. She can make food. She can basically just change reality as a whole, right? So she's a problem. She's a problem to deal with. And I understand the nobility behind what she's attempting to do, but obviously she just takes it way too far because she's planning on dying with all these people stuck in her dream world. And she's also been, you know, live streaming this bitch across the world, and turns out 70% of the world's population is sucked into the dream world. And she makes the decision that she's gonna basically die while having all these people in the dream world. And if that happens, everybody gets stuck in there, and then there's no way to bring them back out or anything like that, which is crazy as shit. But like I was saying, I understand the nobility behind what she's attempting to do because she wants the people to live in a world where there is no suffering, there's no sickness, there's no poverty. You can be and do whatever you want to do, right? And on its face, that's a noble thing to do. But number one, blaming the pirates for everything that's going on in the world is simply not the reality of the situation. We all know just how much grease the world government and the Marines is constantly on, and you have the Marines trying to come in with Kizaru and all them to come and put a stop to her, because apparently they've been keeping tabs on Yuta for a while now, because she's surfaced like 2 years ago and she's become super popular, and then she holds this massive concert on the nation of Elegia, but it obviously is having dire repercussions at this point, even to the point where the Gorosei is meeting together and saying how she's gonna be a big problem. And Luffy and the crew, they come to the concert, but they realize very quickly that there's something off with her, right? There's something off, and she just starts going ham, dog. I mean, she's capturing all types of pirates that have sneaked into the concert or whatever, and has them all hemmed up. She even kind of fights against the Straw Hats, hems all them up, and it's only Bartolomeo, shout out my boy, and Luffy that is able to really escape like that with the help of Law, because Law's unofficial Straw Hat, but he's a captain in his own right. We get all that, right? But I must say also, if we didn't have Kobe and Helmeppo, who had also infiltrated the concert or whatever and got put in the dream world themselves, if we didn't have their help, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. Now, her end goal, like I said, is to cut herself off from the world along with all these people, trapping them in this dream world. But what she doesn't realize is that the musical score that she's going to do at the very end is actually not what it appears to be. It releases this demon lord of sorts who can exist both in reality and the dream world. So you can't just beat it in the dream world. You have to have somebody else that's attacking it from the outside at the same time in order to completely eliminate the threat. And you could tell throughout the movie, like, Luffy's fighting and stuff, but he really doesn't want to fight Yuta. I don't even think he ever raised a hand to her or nothing like that. And she's pretty far gone at this point. She tries to kill the nigga multiple times, and if not for outside interference and things like that. Even Gordon, the dude who raised her for the most part after Shanks left her at the Nation of Allegia, which was kind of crazy, but I understand why he did it. Yeah, if it wasn't for some help from some outside people, then Luffy would have been done multiple times, right? But going into Shanks, man, I would say this is probably my only nitpick of the movie, is that I like the characters, I like the story. I do think that we didn't get enough fighting, and I know it's my meathead shit. Yeah, I get it, but coming off of what you saw in Stampede, where it's basically hands and feet, fists flying everywhere all fucking times, this one is definitely different. They're focusing more on the characters and the story as a whole. But once we kind of hit the third act, that's when the fighting really kind of turned up. You see the Straw Hats are able to break loose of Yuta's spell or whatever. They're still trapped in the dream world where they can actually move around and things like that. So they go off to like an underground bunker to find out what the taught musica thing is, which is the musical score that's going to release the Demon Lord and whatever, right? But like I said, Yuta doesn't really understand what that is and what the repercussions of it are going to be if she actually uses that. And I don't think she really planned on using it until her back was truly against the wall, and then she's forced to use it. But this isn't actually the first time this has happened. So we get flashbacks and all that of showing Luffy and Yuta when they were kids, because Yuta was traveling around with Shanks, while Luffy was in Fuchsia Village, and going on adventures with him and stuff like that. She was the musician of the Red Hair Pirates. So it all fits in very well. Like, this is just straight up canon. I don't know how much of it is canon, but for now it seems like it fits very, very well. And like I said, he's taken her as his daughter, so to speak, but we find out later on that that's not actually true either. They must have done some raid or something like that, and she was trapped in a chest as a baby. So, and also we saw a flashback at that moment also of the same thing must have happened to Shanks and Gold Roger, and then found him. So where these stray kids are coming from or what their actual lineage is, we don't know, but it makes me question who these people actually are, you know what I'm saying, or where they actually come from, because that's a question, man. That really is a question. But so they're going on their adventures, and when they went to Allegia Nation way back in the day, Shanks and them, he could see just how much Yuta loved to do music and sing and all this other stuff, and he kind of felt that he was holding her back and things like that. So he even brought up the idea that, hey, why don't you stay in this nation who's renowned around the world? They have the best musicians. Like, this is what they do. They could make you a star one day, and like, you know, we're holding you back because you singing for just some little motley crew on the boat, which is, you know, I understand you didn't want to hold her back, but you could tell obviously that was her family, dog. She wanted to stay with y'all and everything, but you know, events happen, and top music is used back then when she's very small, and the only reason why it wasn't world-ending destruction type stuff is because once she starts singing, her power even makes her go to sleep, which cancels out the effect of the dream world. But when she did top musical back then, apparently when you start doing that, it's just gonna take all your energy and stamina just to keep it going for a bit. Now in the current story, the way she's gotten around that is she's taking these wake shrooms like constantly, and if you take those for too long, eventually you're going to get sick and die. So the countdown has already started as the movie's going, that she only has like 2 hours or 1 hour left to live or whatnot, unless she goes to sleep and starts trying to nullify the effects of the wake shrooms. Because back in the day, the only reason why the top music of Demon Lord stopped, number one, is because Shanks and them niggas was getting busy, but also is that she was little. She ran out of energy and stamina, and that was the only way to stop it, because there was nobody in the dream world in that time to fight at the same time while Shanks and them were fighting. But back then, it didn't end until the entire nation was obliterated, and literally it was her and Gordon was the only people left over, right? And Shanks took the blame for it. He didn't tell her the truth. He just set out and had Gordon take care of her, and you know, he put all the blame on himself. And so in the eyes of the world, Shanks and his crew were the ones that destroyed this nation. Little does she know that it was actually her. She was the... Bro, it's fucking crazy. I mean, it's basically like the power of an ancient weapon, almost, right? And I know that she's not, but it's kind of crazy that her ability can go so far as to be that destructive. Which really kind of makes you question, do all the devil fruits have some kind of endpoint like that? If you, like, you know, master it to the highest degree? I would say no, but more and more we're seeing certain powers where, like, they have world-ending capabilities, you know what I'm saying? So he leaves her on the island. She's devastated and heartbroken about that. And slowly over time, you can tell that her resent towards Shanks is very clear, and just pirates as a whole, based on the events that occurred. Now, we find out later that she actually does know, because somehow she was able to find the snail of the actual events that occurred back then, right? And how she was the one that actually destroyed the nation, which is, it's very interesting, because that just, I don't know, man. With UTA, it just makes me like her character so much more, because that conflict of, you did something so bad, and I know that you must view yourself as just the worst type of person, right? But she still is trying to do something, not only to make up for that, but to literally change the world and make up for her mistakes in a way. And obviously it's skewed, it's messed up with how she's going about it. But like I said, the intentions are good there. So, but what she doesn't understand is that, you know, when you try and just force everybody to be happy, take away all their problems, that's not always the best thing. And the people kind of turn on her halfway through, because that she's trapped in the dream world, because they start finding out the truth that they're not in actual reality or whatever, and they're never going to be able to go back home, nothing like that. They start to turn on her because there are things that they like to do in the regular world. And I'm sure that she could replicate that in the dream world or whatever. But what she doesn't understand is that, like I said, when you force people to be happy, you make everybody happy, you give everybody no problems, that eventually is not going to work, and it's not going to turn out in your favor. It's just like the old thing that says, like, if everybody's rich, nobody would be rich at a certain point. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to go through the hardships and the trials and tribulations of just struggling and going through bad things, good things. That's what makes a fulfilling life, because no one's happy all the time, and nobody just wants to play all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's so fulfilling when you have to struggle. You come out on the other side and you're better for it. And we know what she's trying to do is a good thing in her heart, but it's just not the way to go about it. There's so many other things that she could have done, because even what she was doing before with just live streaming her broadcast like by herself, she was giving people hope. You know what I'm saying? And it's literally all you have to do. You don't have to fix all the problems in the world, as long as you do what you can in your power to give people hope. That's really all people need. And yes, I know like the people was asking to be taken to a place where they didn't have to struggle and things like that anymore, but that's just the naivety of people, because once you get that sort of thing and then you realize the price that comes along with it, turns out that you never wanted that in the first place. So I just love her character, because you know that she hates herself so much off of what she did, but in a way she's still trying to make up for that, and then also change the world and change the era that they live in at the same time. Now later on, back when we're in the present time, in the dream world, and shit's really starting to hit the fan, the Marines are pulled up on the island in reality, so she's just using all the people that have fallen asleep into the dream world, and she can control their bodies to fight for her as like mindless soldiers who was asleep, which is crazy because she's got hella powerful niggas that she's using to do that. She starts seeing that the Marines, in order to stop her, they're literally willing to kill all these niggas too, which is crazy because they just start dumping on civilians and things like that. And you can see that she's trying to save them and all that, but it's a futile effort. And then Shanks pulls up, right? So he doesn't pull up for a long time throughout this movie, but when he finally does pull up, you know that we're starting to get towards the end game here. And it's just, it's sad that she went about it that way, and that she had such like hate for Shanks. But you could tell when he pulled up, like that's still her family, dog. As much as she could say that she hates him, and she doesn't want to see him, all this other stuff, it's not the truth. She loves that man. That's her father. That was her family. So is Luffy. Luffy's like her brother, man. So it's just it was a tough thing to watch, but it was a great story. And then obviously the third act goes crazy with the action. Shanks starts attacking from outside, and if you got good enough observation hockey, you can kind of, I guess, link to the other side and see what's going on in reality, which is fucking broken and crazy. That one might be a little bit of a stretch, because Yasopp and Usopp is just on the wavelength to know when they need to attack the Demon Lord monster and in what order they need to do it and all that. And it's a crazy coordinated attack. Luffy ends up going gear 4, gear 5, all that. So they are able to take down the top Musica monster. I will say I like this in fight scene better than Stampede. I thought that was one of the only downsides to Stampede, because it just turned into some mecha thing. Regardless of how much I enjoy Boa and all them going crazy, I like the teamwork in this movie a lot more. Just because it reminds me of vintage Straw Hat shit, dog. It's just going back to, Thriller Bark, how they had to take down Oars Jr. and all that, or Oars, excuse me. It gave you those same type of vibes in this, right? So all the combo attacks was crazy. Animation was sick in this movie. Animation was fire. I would say for the most part, the soundtrack does bang, but there's obviously a few songs in there that's just not for me. But the main theme and then the songs that were playing during the final sequence was all like top tier. So once they're able to take down the monster, they realize that, oh shit, everybody's still trapped in this place, even though, like, they thought just taking that down would solve all the problems, but UTA makes the one last sacrifice by singing to guide the souls back from the dream world and bring them back to the real world. And she doesn't get to, apologize to Luffy and all that because, the red hair pirates take her away before Luffy wakes up and she passes away, which is so sad. It's so sad because you get I got so attached to that character. I was hoping there was some way that she could survive, but it's great for story because it makes sense. You can't do all this stuff and then not have true repercussions, and she redeemed herself by the end. You know what I'm saying? And we got to see Shanks flex the hockey a bit on the Admirals, making Kizaru sweat. Oh my god, that shit was fire. But really, the story wasn't even about that. It was about the characters. Luffy never changes. He's always the guy that he says that he is. And even though the perception in the world is that pirates are so bad and so must Luffy's crew must be the same way, Shanks' crew must be the same way. No, that's not true. As we know in One Piece, it doesn't matter what side you're on. There's good and bad people on all sides. Yeah, a lot of the pirates are bad, but there's a lot of pirates that are good at the same time. There's a lot of bad Marines, bad people in the world government, but there's also some good ones as well. Reference to Kobe and Helmeppo and all them, Guard, people like that. So it's if only Yuta wasn't sequestered in that nation for so long and had the knowledge to know that it's not just pirates responsible for the world's problems, then I think that a lot of that stuff could have been avoided, but obviously it didn't go that way. I do think the couple things that were a little unnecessary in this movie was like the inclusion of the celestial dragons. I mean, that's fine. That one's not that big of an issue. Really, Big Mom's crew coming through. I mean, I know it helped in terms of like how we were able to navigate the problem, and Brule was essential in being able to actually communicate on both sides of the conflict going on. But it was nice to see Katakuri teaming up with Shanks, which is kind of fucking crazy. But yeah, I don't think that was actually necessary. You know what I'm saying? It's just a bit of fan service for us. We like to see Kat, the man. But overall, I have to give this movie a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I do think that story's very strong. Characters are very, very strong. But just a little more action, because I think this is the least I've ever seen Luffy fight in any movies or like, final conflicts and things like that. So the end stretch was great, but I think we could have had a little bit more, a little more action going on throughout the thing. You get me? And I think that I would like to see a little bit more of Shanks, but I wasn't expecting him to like be fighting throughout the whole movie. I mean, that's just not realistic. We ain't gonna give away too much about what Shanks can do. We all know this, right? But yeah, like I said, overall 7 out of 10. I think it's a really good movie. I wouldn't say this is a must watch in the theater, but I would definitely say if you want the full experience, go watch it in the movies while it's still there, because I don't know how long it's gonna be in there, because the soundtrack hits almost the whole time. The colors are popping like crazy. The animation is just fluid and it's so good. So you'll enjoy all that. But if you're expecting a stampede, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't. That's just, you're gonna lead yourself astray if you do that, right? Like I said, this one's more musical format, but we focus on story and characters over the action for the most part. But that's pretty much it for this movie review. Let me know what y'all thought about Film Red. I can see how people might be a little split on this one, right? Because obviously for these big movies, you want to see just tons and tons and tons of action sequences all the way throughout. So I am curious to see how people felt about the movie as a whole. But it's kind of wonky, but such is One Piece. So I am very curious to see what y'all think about that. Yeah, man. And also let me know how much of this is canon, because I know they've been kind of flirting with that. I think the past couple movies with having canon characters and things like that, was UTA really like just an add-on to the story, or is she actually one of the characters in the story canonically? Because honestly, it just fits so well, and for that to be basically Luffy's first friend, it was just great to see them together when they were not, you know, fighting against each other. That was just some of the best stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it, man. Like, comment, subscribe for more content from me. I'm gonna do my best to bring it to you. Road to 100 subscribers. Let's go, people. It's been your boy T-Rav, and I'm out. Yeah.